Look at your hands. Right now, why are they holding that phone? Why did you click this specific video? You think it was your curiosity. What if I told you that your decision was engineered 3 days ago by an algorithm that knows your insecurities better than your own mother? What if I told you that you are not the driver of your life, but a passenger in a vehicle steered by people you will never meet? Most of you are being played like an instrument. And the worst part? You are enjoying the tune. Welcome to the hidden laboratory of human behavior. Today, we aren't just talking about influence. We are performing an autopsy on the most guarded secret of the global elite: how to control them. Do you truly believe that your thoughts are your own? Think about the last time you felt a sudden urge to buy something, hate someone, or follow a movement. Was that your choice, or was it a seed planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious months ago? Most people walk through life as reactors. They react to the news, they react to their boss, and they react to their own impulses. But the 1%? They are the architects. They don't react to the world. They design the reactions of others. To master others, you must first understand the rights of Robert Cialdini, the godfather of influence. In his groundbreaking work, Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion, he identifies the weapons of influence. The most lethal one? Social proof. Cialdini states, "We view a behavior as more correct in a given situation to the degree that we see others performing it. When you control the perception of what is normal, you control the crowd." The 1% do not force people to act. They simply make it look like everyone else is already doing it. Your brain is wired to belong, and the fear of being an outsider is the strongest leash ever invented. But let's go deeper into the dark side of control. Stanley Milgram, a psychologist at Yale, conducted one of the most terrifying experiments in history, the Milgram Experiment. He proved that ordinary people, fathers, teachers, neighbors, would inflict lethal electric shocks on strangers simply because an authority figure in a white lab coat told them to. Milgram concluded, obedience to authority is not a choice for most. It is a deeply ingrained behavioral complex. If you can project the aura of legitimate authority, you do not need to ask for permission. People will simply obey because their brain is conditioned to surrender to the expert. If you are beginning to realize that the world is just a massive chessboard, and you have been a pawn for too long, hit that like button. It is the first step toward waking up from the trance. Now, look, this knowledge is dangerous. In the wrong hands, it is a weapon of tyranny. Most people prefer to stay blind. They want to believe they are in control of their own thoughts because the truth is too heavy to carry. But you are still here. That tells me you have the stomach for the truth. At the 1% elite, we are building a community of 100,000 elite minds. We are looking for those who want to understand the source code of human behavior. We are building a tribe of observers who cannot be manipulated because they know exactly how the game is played. If you want to be one of the 100,000 who see the strings, subscribe right now. Join the 1% elite. Claim your seat at the table before it's taken by someone who will use your ignorance against you. To understand how to control the masses, we must study Gustave Le Bon and his classic work, The Crowd, a study of the popular mind. Le Bon argued that when individuals join a crowd, their conscious personality vanishes. He wrote, "An individual in a crowd is a grain of sand amid other grains of sand which the wind stirs up at will. To control them, you must stop talking to their logic and start talking to their images." The crowd does not think. It feels. It does not want truth. It wants illusions. If you can provide a powerful enough myth, they will follow you to the ends of the earth. This leads us to the science of behaviorism, and BF. Skinner's work on operant conditioning revealed that human beings can be programmed just like laboratory rats. Through positive reinforcement and intermittent rewards, you can make a person perform a task indefinitely. Think about social media notifications. They are not accidental. They are variable ratio schedules, the same mechanism used in slot machines to create addiction. Skinner famously wrote, "Give me a child and I'll shape him into anything." The 1% understand that human behavior is simply a series of responses to environmental stimuli. If you control the stimulus, you control the man. Let's add the rights of Ivan Pavlov. His research on classical conditioning proved that we can be anchored to specific triggers. A sound, a color, or a brand logo can be tied to an emotional state. The elite use this to trigger buying frenzies or political rage without the victim ever knowing they were triggered. You think you are angry at a headline? No. You have been conditioned to respond to certain dog whistle keywords like a bell-trained dog. Consider the rights of Niccolo Machiavelli. In The Prince, he famously asked whether it is better to be loved or feared. His answer? It is much safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because love is a bond of obligation which people break whenever it is to their advantage. But fear is held by a dread of punishment which never leaves them. Fear is the ultimate control mechanism. When people are afraid, their prefrontal cortex shuts down and their amygdala takes over. In that state, they are easy to herd. This brings us to the Stanford Prison Experiment by Philip Zimbardo. He showed that when you give someone a role and a uniform, they will become the role. Within days, college students became brutal prison guards. Zimbardo proved that identity is the ultimate cage. If you can define someone's identity, tell them they are a victim, a hero, or a sinner, you no longer need to watch them. They will police themselves to stay consistent with that label. This brings us to Robert Greene, the author of the 48 Laws of Power. One of his most lethal laws is, keep others in suspended terror, cultivate an air of unpredictability. Control is maintained through the psychological exhaustion of the subject. If people can predict your next move, they can resist you. But if you are unpredictable, they become paralyzed by the effort to understand you. Greene writes, "The world is a giant, swirling whirlpool of human emotions. If you can control the flow, you control the world." Someone who is a slave to the opinions of others, share this video with them. They deserve to see the architecture of their own cage. Modern control also uses the Ben Franklin effect. This is a cognitive bias where a person who has already performed a favor for another is more likely to do another favor. Psychologist Leon Festinger would explain this through cognitive dissonance. If I do a favor for you, my brain says, I must like this person, otherwise why would I help them? By manipulating small actions, you can force a person's brain to change its opinion of you. You are literally rewriting their internal narrative. But the 1% elite know the ultimate form of control is choice architecture, as discussed by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein in Nudge. You do not tell people what to do. You simply design the environment so that the choice you want them to make is the default choice. You give them the illusion of freedom while you have already pre-selected the outcome. Thaler writes, "There is no such thing as a neutral design. Everything in your environment is a nudge toward a specific behavior." Furthermore, we must look at Noam Chomsky and his theory of manufacturing consent. Control on a mass scale is achieved by narrowing the range of acceptable debate while allowing very spirited discussion within that narrow range. It makes the them feel like they are free thinkers, while their thoughts are being funneled into a pre-built canal. Chomsky states, "The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum." Let us look at George Orwell and the concept of doublethink from 1984. Control is perfected when you can make people accept two contradictory beliefs as the truth simultaneously. In the modern world, this is done through gaslighting, making people doubt their own senses until they rely solely on the official source for reality. As Orwell wrote, "Power is in tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing." How do you defend against this? You must master metacognition. You must become the observer of the influence. When you feel a sudden urge to follow a trend, pause. Ask yourself, is this my thought, or was it planted there? We are the 1% elite. We do not seek to control others for petty gains. We seek to understand control so that we can never be controlled again. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." To win the game of influence, you must practice emotional detachment. As Sun Tzu wrote in The Art of War, if your opponent is of choleric temper, Seek to irritate him, pretend to be weak, that he may grow arrogant. By controlling your own emotions, you become a vacuum that sucks in the emotions of others, allowing you to redirect their energy at will. This is the law of the mirror. People will reflect back what you project. If you project absolute certainty, they will feel doubt. If you project silence, they will feel the need to fill it with their secrets. Join the 100,000. Subscribe to the 1% elite. Leave a comment below with the word observer if you are ready to see the strings. We are not just building a channel, we are building a cognitive fortress. In our next deep dive, we will explore the psychology of the dark triad. Until then, stay sharp, watch the crowd, but never join it. Understand the levers, but never be the one being pulled. The 1% elite. Master the mind, master the world.